Hello everyone, welcome back. I want to talk to you guys a little bit today about the Crusades. And the reason I want to talk about the Crusades is because the liberal media typically portrays the Crusades as evil Europeans going down to northern Africa to steal Arab lands. Okay? And this is completely false. The thing to understand is that the Arabs came out of Saudi Arabia, those areas. Okay, and basically they started conquering to the into Western Africa around 700, sometime around 700, and they were continually expanding. And the point is that the Arabs or Muslims had only recently taken possession of those lands. Okay, um, everything from Morocco to going across to Egypt, Syria, up to what we call today Turkey. All those were Christian lands. Okay, um, and what happens is the Muslims continually expanded, and not only did they expand all the way, because they started from Saudi Arabia, they moved westward, they went all the way to Morocco, and then from Morocco they went up and completely conquered Spain. Okay, and Spain was under Muslim occupation for a very, very, very long time. Um, and when we think of Spain today, we don't think of Spain as land stolen from the Muslims. Okay, we look at Spain and we say that this is this is clearly um, uh, of European Christian heritage. Okay, nobody questions that really. But when you think of Morocco, Egypt, Syria, you really should think of it at the same way, right? You should think of it at the same way because those were Byzantine lands that they had inherited as Romans. And at the time of the Crusades, most of the people living there were Christians. Okay, uh, the Muslims had not been there for all that long, so the Crusades were in fact a reconquest. Okay, they were taking back lands that belonged to the Christians. Okay, just in the same way that there was, we have the reconquest of Spain, the same way we have the reconquest of Sicily. Sicily was under complete Muslim occupation for almost 250 years. Okay, um, so today we don't think of Sicily as an island that was stolen from the Muslims. We think of it as part of a part of Europe and as part of a part of the Christian heritage. Okay, so don't let the media lie to you when they tell you that the Crusades were basically a bunch of evil Christian Europeans invading Arab lands. That's not the case at all. In fact, the Arabs were in fact the aggressors because not only did they move to the west, they conquered Syria, they conquered Egypt, they conquered Morocco, they moved up, conquered Spain. Okay, they didn't stop there. They tried to conquer France. Okay, and one man, he's known as Charles the Hammer Martel. He's the guy that stopped the invasion from Spain into France. Okay, because basically they would have completely conquered Western Europe through Spain if it not had been for that man. Okay, I already mentioned that they came up, through from the south. Okay, moving northward, and they conquered Sicily. Okay, and they made attempts to move further into Italy as well that were not very successful. Um, and then on the other side, they were continually expanding towards Byzantium. Okay, what we look when we look on the map today, they call it Turkey, and that's not what it is. Okay, that was a Christian land belonging to the Byzantines, that the Arabs were continually conquering. And the way that the Crusades started is that the Byzantine emperor, who was pretty much under siege, more or less, asked the Pope for help. Okay, and as a result, the Pope initiated the Crusades. Okay, so and in fact, the first Crusades basically, went. The first place they went was to to Constantinople. Okay, that's the first place that they went. They went in that direction, and then from there moved south towards Jerusalem. I'm not going to get into too much detail. I'm kind of putting this out as an introduction, so that you guys can research this further on your own. But like, I just kind of wanted to make you aware of this. Okay, so and basically the Arab expansion continued long after basically the Crusades were over. Okay, at some point, basically the Arabs reconquered what we call Palestine, Jerusalem. They reconquered those lands, pushed the Crusaders out. Okay, and basically from there they continued their the Arabs continued the northern expansion towards Byzantium, eventually conquering it in around, I think it was 1453. And it didn't stop there. It didn't stop at Constantinople, which they renamed Istanbul. Okay? It didn't stop there. From there, they continued to press towards Hungary and Romania. Okay, and on that side, they were stopped by one really awesome dude by the name of Vlad. Okay, Vlad the Impaler. Now, you guys have heard of him. You just don't know you've heard of him. Vlad the Impaler is Dracula. Okay, that is the real man. And the real man was a lot more terrifying than the fictional character. Okay, the reason why Vlad gets this bad reputation as a guy that sucks blood out of people's necks, and the whole thing with the stakes through the heart thing. Okay, Vlad was very fond of impaling his enemies. Okay, and the way that he would impale them, he would take these long 20-foot poles. And using horses, he would basically ram these poles up people's asses into their abdomens, sometimes all the way through. Sometimes he would stop there so that they wouldn't die immediately, and he would stand the poles up, and basically the people, his enemies would be at the top of this pole. And there was, during one invasion attempt by the Muslims into what we call Wallachia, okay, which we now today think of as Romania. We call it Romania, but back then it was called Wallachia. There was one invasion attempt by the Muslims where basically they were coming in with, it's estimated, about 100,000 troops. He only had about 20,000, so he resorted to psychological warfare. So what he did is, the roads leading towards his castle, towards his his province, or whatever you call it. What he did is, he had, over the years, he had been collecting Muslim prisoners. Okay, because there were continual skirmishes back and forth. So over the years he had been collecting prisoners of war, and what he did is he lined those roads with thousands of Muslims impaled on top of these poles. So as the Muslim army was invading towards Romania, basically they were walking by and they basically had all these guys, at the top of these poles impaled through their asses. And as you can imagine, they all lost heart and they retreated. Okay, so through psychological warfare, he was able to stop that Muslim invasion of Europe. Okay, and that's not the end of it. There's a lot more to the story. And I invite you guys to research it. I don't want to just go too deep into that in this particular video. But the point of this video is for you guys to understand that Europe was continually under Muslim assault. They assaulted it through Spain, trying to get into France. They came through through Byzantium, and continued through Romania and Hungary, trying to invade that way. And they tried to come up the south through Italy, through Sicily and Italy. Europe was under continuous, threat of a Muslim invasion. Okay, so what the media likes to focus on is that the Crusades. Okay, evil Europeans, going out and basically just stealing the land from the Muslims. When that was not in fact the case. Number one, they were taking back, Christian lands, okay, lands that had until recently been Christians and belonged to the Byzantines, at the request of the Byzantine emperor. Okay, and number two, they were continually under Muslim invasion or Muslim threat on pretty much on all sides. Okay, just like I said, this isn't an extremely detailed video. This is more of an introduction, and I basically invite you guys to research it some more. There's tons of videos, online, on the internet regarding this subject that you guys should basically familiarize yourselves with. So that when they talk about the Crusades and they portray it as evil European invaders, you guys know what to say. So if you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys next time.